The words we use matter, and the right conversations lead to book calls. What's up, FlowChat fam? Chris here, CEO and co-founder of FlowChat. We're having real conversations with real entrepreneurs on the front line getting real results, which is why we have another FlowChat member here today that we're spotlighting because he is doing just that. In fact, recently he got a burst of booked calls, and it's from a certain conversation that he's having. We're here to talk with him about that experience. Bill, how's it going today?
Going good. Thanks, Chris, for having me on the show.
Yeah. As we kind of covered just a little bit before we hopped on here, I like to jump right into it. If you're listening, watching this right now, we are going to get into some of Bill's backstory and what his secret sauce is and what makes him so special. However, the promise is focused on, for this conversation, booked calls. There's a particular conversation that you're having recently that created some results. And I know there's many people that are always looking for more connection, more leads, etc. What's been working for you?
So it's been really useful to use the flow chat, and I think it starts right at the connection, because I've been doing for LinkedIn a lot. And what's been happening is the sending the connection with a little just simply, hey, excited about getting connected with you and looking forward to chatting, has made a huge difference with my connection rate. And then once that connection's been established, just going along with the conversations and using the blueprints that FlowChat has really changed what used to be, I don't know, 50, 60, 100 conversations to try to get someone to get back to me, has turned into like 70 to 80% of them get back to me and start a conversation just simply by following the program and the conversation, and really changing my mindset on social media being a conversation tool as opposed to just a connecting tool. Like like through the website kind of thing.
Yeah, that's really powerful. There is an art and a science to this, and if we use the word spectrum, starting out, like if you're going for the gold right away, just the straight ask, a little too soon. But if you never really get to it, then you're having those 70, 80, 100 conversations and not getting anywhere, and that's obviously frustrating too. So playing with this conversation piece leads us, somewhere in this area of the spectrum, leading with a comment, starting, opening a conversation. But how are you having that conversation? Like, what was kind of the pivotal change in the conversation that didn't lead to like this back and forth, week, 2 week or longer conversation that went nowhere? How did you, on the conversation piece, kind of hone that in to go to a desired result?
I think it's just a matter of having your end goal in mind. And that, I think, was definitely helpful. And having those conversation pieces, because you can customize a little bit of them to like what you want them to be.
Sure.
And thinking of my own customers and applying what questions usually spark that conversation, but in a way that leads me to scheduling a call with them and staying on task with coaching being what I'm pitching. So for example, one of the conversation starters I have is, how are you keeping track of your numbers, whether it's sales, pipeline, or something like that? So it's surprising how many people are like answering that question, because it seems kind of personal, but it also opens the door to, have a conversation for me as a business coach saying, oh, that's fantastic. How are you doing it? I would love to learn more. It leaves a lot of openings for me to go to a call after I get them to open up about that specific thing. So I think that's how I'm getting them to that call stage, by like keeping it relevant to me, as opposed to like, how's your day going? What do you think of this? Keeping it relevant to what I'm talking about,
What I hear you saying is well, you're saying one thing, but the latter comment kind of brings up these two perspectives. How are you doing? This is a question, what I would label as a general question. You might as well ask, how's the weather? Which we all know is like a cardinal sin for almost any social dynamic, not just business or sales. And then there's the other side, which is the first thing you're kind of mentioning, is something very targeted and specific, personable to the type of person, the avatar that you're speaking with. Yeah. So and that's getting the reaction. Another specific example based on what you're saying is more in the financial space and asking something kind of uncomfortable, really, which is more about someone's like credit score. Now, hear me very closely, not the actual number, but like, how would you, like give a range or whatever? There's some like compliant way of approaching it that person was going about it. And the punchline is, maybe even someone listening that, oh wait, you can't do that, or there's all this emotion around it. But being very aware of compliance, like you're asking something very personal, it gets a reaction, you got a reaction, and it led to a great conversations. Your focus was getting book calls. Talk to us about the quality of calls, because like, oh yay, we got 10, 15, 100 book calls, But like, does it go anywhere? I mean, obviously, we want quality calls. How did that turn out?
Well, so it was surprising to me as well because I'm a service that is, and services are usually longer to get to that conversation of like hiring me. There's got to be like a trust factor and things like that. But I think that
Yeah.
by having conversations that kind of started bringing those little bits of opening up in the beginning, that when I had those conversations, I came in just asking questions, trying to see like what's going on in their business, how are things progressing, what might be going wrong, and then zeroing in on those pain points was a way to kind of make almost every call that I got head towards coaching. And I would say about half of them I was able to start saying like, here's what I do as a coach, here's how much it costs, here's what I'm doing and how I accomplish it, and get them to much further along down the pipeline than just simply having like, well, we met each other, and I think that having those questions that were a little more penetrating and a little more related to my service helped make it so they understood that we were going to talk about it, but it was also not necessarily talk like making them think that it was going to be a sales meeting either. And that I think has helped a lot to like I said, make it about half um, of the calls that I've booked being, moving them along the pipeline much faster than I thought it would.
How frustrating is it to spend hours chatting and then you get on a call and you just got to meet somebody and then that's the end?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that a lot of it is also qualifying the people in the beginning. Um, knowing who your particular market is and who you're trying to hit and who's more likely to use your service helps a lot with that part as well. Because I'll have conversations that go, and I just know that like I'm not going to bother scheduling a meeting with this guy because he's either trying to sell me right from the bat, which means it's not going to be a beneficial conversation for me, or two, they're just kind of like off in the weeds, or they're not ready to really go anywhere. Like it might end up just being a referral partner or something that's not specifically a sales call. So I think by looking for those kind of terms as well, it helps improve those calls, and that's helped a lot for me with the flow chat and such, being able to identify them as I go.
Those are really good points. Everyone listening, watching, it probably at some stage, if you're watching this type of content, has been very frustrated or like, man, I wasted so much time, or I don't even, Chris, Bill, I don't even want to go the direction of, leveraging direct message or having those type of conversations because it's so noisy or spammy and I don't like it. There's a stigma around it. Or they're like, I tried it and it just doesn't go anywhere. I do, want people to hear and know that because all those things are also true, it's very easy to stand out. And it can be a really insanely effective tool. The question is, how do you do it? And Bill, some of the things that you're doing, I thought were very beneficial for others to hear because not everyone gets to see or experience this side. One of the big bullet points you mentioned was you can actually qualify people in chat before having the actually even spending time on a call. It saves both your time and theirs. So, there is a positive side to it. There's a lot of different ways to meet new people via content or different, or YouTube channels or like there's all different types of ways of acquiring. And look, if you're awesome at all of them, then they're all good. But obviously today we're focused on the DMs. It's great to hear that that's kind of how you were qualifying with your direct questions in chat, and then how you're able to have mutual like networking more type calls, but you are still asking key and strategic questions that got into pain that led to more of a sales conversation when it was the right fit. So thank you for
Mhm.
sharing those things. Are there other parts of the process that you feel are important for someone listening, watching to add?
Through flow chat or the
Just the sales
oh,
process. I mean, FlowChat is a part of the sales process via
mhm.
DMs, but yeah, just the sales process in general that you feel would benefit others.
Well, I think the other big thing that I really like about it is the follow up is so much easier, and the keeping people organized is so much easier. And I think a lot of people fail when it comes to that follow up. And then the flow chat makes it so much easier because you can time out how many days before it tells you, when to follow up. But having those follow ups is super important because instead of like the conversion rate goes up. A lot of people I think lose those potential leads that could go somewhere because of the fact that they just simply forgot to follow up or send 3 or 4 or 5 different messages to get that first conversation. Which is another great thing that I think was really cool about the FlowChat, because it really helps with that. Um, keep everything moving forward, and keep that follow up active, so that when you actually do say, okay, this is a disqualified lead, it truly is. It's not one that you just simply either got frustrated with or maybe talked to once or sent one message and wonder why no one's getting back to you. Um, so that was definitely something that helped a lot. And I think that, that's just something to remember about sales in general.
Fortunes in the follow-up. Hopefully everyone listening, watching this now is already completely sold on that as an experience, the power of it. And most people don't realize that the inbox that we have is an awesome, huge, valuable list. Someone that you talked to even a year, 2, 5 years ago is still there. Obviously, it's really hard to access them by scrolling, but to your point, if you know where they're at in the sales process, you can click one button and it just goes reference them. Now follow-up happens. Now more deals are happening, and hence being the fortune of the follow-up. So the question that I'm curious about, Bill, is why are you doing all this activity? So what product and service are you providing?
So I am a business coach, and I help companies work through problems or issues that they might be having, complications. And when I do my lead gen, I'm looking for business owners. So I focus on basically 3 different ways to lead gen: either referral partners, which are people I know that I have refer me work, networking, or social media, and I do a lot of social media. So when I look at those 3 different areas, I had to find a way to keep track of all the social media that I was doing and figure out a way to have these conversations and convert these leads. Um, and that's why FlowChat stuck out to me when I talked to Ashley. I was interviewing her for one of a business summit that I was doing, and she had mentioned it, and it piqued my interest because, again, social media was a huge thing that I used for my lead gen for business coaching. And yeah, I looked at it, and it kept everything nice and organized and streamlined, and all the help that I can get to make those conversations work. Um, and now I'm having conversations with business owners to lead them into those calls or those meetings that help me convert them into sales. So I'm practicing what I preach, basically, when it comes to doing it all.
That helps a lot. Business coaching, helping other businesses that businesses have problems? They get stuck? Oh gosh. Okay, that's all. So tell me about some of your superpowers and how you're helping business owners. It sounds like some of it is lead gen, some of it is or social media. What are some of your superpowers in supporting businesses?
So the biggest thing I do is I listen, and kind of see what they specifically are having as trouble.
It's a good first step.
So yeah, so to break that down, when I have my call with them, every business owner, when they have something on their mind, it's an issue, problem, hurdle, complication, something like that, it always comes up in the conversation somehow. So if, for example, if I were to say, like, how's your day going? It's like, oh, things are great. I wish sales were better. But, and like it comes across. And then when I hear
The
it,
pain leaks out.
yeah. And so I start asking questions to kind of define it more. And by the end of the conversation, we start figuring out, why is that happening? And then from there, I help them create a plan and an action plan to actually fix that issue that they might be having, or problem or hurdle or whatever it may be. Um, and then I help them make sure they fix it, which is a big part of it, because a lot of people make plans, especially business plans. They're a dime a dozen, um, but they never really execute it. And then when they execute it, they have a bad habit of sliding back. Like a 90-day challenge thing. They can get to one point and then they can slide back. So, um, I really try to make sure that when I do find out the issue, I try to make sure that we customize it to them, because not everyone does the same thing. Not everyone's the same person. So I want to make sure that the plan is something that they can get behind, and that's the biggest thing that I focus on when I'm, talking to my potential clients and trying to help them get through whatever it is. And for me, it's personally rewarding to have them be like, well, that's a weight off my chest.
Yeah.
um, to have that relief of either they fixed it or they, realized what might be going on. Because some people say like there's no problems or no issues, there's nothing going on in my company, it's perfectly fine. And it may be, but there's also either something maybe they could improve, or maybe there's something underlying that they see as normal, but it's not. And now they realize that it's stressing them out. And then we can start tackling it. Like a lot of business owners get in the habit of putting out fires and getting ahead of work, or having things fall through you know, fall through cracks, but they're used to it. So it's kind of the norm. And like, once
It's one of the
you
most
highlight,
dangerous places to be.
yeah,
Is
I
yeah.
know. And then once they realize it, then they're like, you know what, that does stress me out. And I am up on working weekends when I shouldn't be. And, you know, it kind of snowballs. And then we figure out, like, well, sometimes it is simple. It's just like, okay, well, what if you had an extra person helping you? Oh my God, that would take off all this extra stuff. So um, that's what I do in a nutshell.
Why are you passionate about helping businesses?
Well, I like business for one. I like the diversity of it. I like the many ways you can solve problems with it. Um, and I like that it gives people the freedom to do what they want, whether it is full time business as their life and that's what they want to do, or maybe they're using it as a vehicle to make money and go in a certain direction and have the freedom to do things. I like that it gives them choices. They get to choose what they want to do, as opposed to, you know, be here between this time and that's it. And this is how much you make and that's it. So I like that business aspect, and getting people to achieve in those areas and succeed, and like really move forward um, in those areas. It gets me excited because I feel like it changes their lives and it makes them be able to do what they want, as opposed to what they think they should do.
And oftentimes those are very different. You seem to be well connected and like you're constantly talking with other business owners. What's a good platform or way to meet other business owners?
So I personally like LinkedIn. When I was doing business about 12 or 13 years ago, I did not know how to use LinkedIn. So I wasn't really using it to its full potential. But recently, um, I finally realized what LinkedIn was for. And
The epiphany
if
moment
you're,
happened. Yeah.
exactly. And if you're looking for businesses directly, it is a great place. But it also comes down to who you're looking for. So if you're looking for businesses that are probably either business to business related or offering jobs, they're most likely going to be on LinkedIn. But if you're looking for a business that's like targeting consumers, they're probably going to be more on Facebook or something like that. So it's a matter of what kind of business you're looking for, and then going about finding them, where they are, which is part of defining your market. But I like LinkedIn. It's definitely changed a lot and has more opportunities, especially when you know how to use it. And if you don't, you need to talk to somebody who does. Um,
Like
because,
Bill? Question mark?
well, I was,
No, I'm putting it out there. Like if I mean,
yeah.
is this an area that you help businesses with?
So I can help them target their people, um, but sometimes I bring in ringers, if you will,
Okay, that's
people
fine. I was just telling how it is. Yeah, no, I wanted to leave some
people are
space
more,
there. Like if that's
yeah.
like an area of also where you support businesses and people are listening right now, it's like, hey,
Mhm.
if you have some questions around it, go talk to Bill. So
Yeah. So I connect them with people in my network.
great,
So I have
cool.
people that do social
So use
media.
Bill as a resource.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. So, we've talked about outreach. We've talked about prospecting, like how to, hunt and search for ideal clients. How does networking play into your process?
So it's a huge part of what I do. Like I said, it's one of the main ways I generate leads. And I do it in two different ways. I hunt for networking events through virtual for the most part, because then I get to kind of go to as many as possible.
Totally.
But there's nothing wrong with doing in person either. It's the same process. Build a connection, get to know somebody, and then offline is where you start building that connection, schedule appointments, and try to talk to them afterwards. And then I create my own networking events. So I have a monthly networking event that I do where I get businesses to connect, and we do a little bit of learning, a little bit of connecting, and really try to grow our businesses. And then again, offline, we do a lot of that scheduling appointments and meetings and such. And then I do a business summit twice a year where I interview different business owners about what they're doing, how they're achieving in their area. And then I also do networking each night. So we just got off of our last one the last week in October, and our next one's in May. So I do a mixture because it, one, helps me connect with people, and two, for the one where I create my own, it kind of makes me the professional, the person who is in that area. So it gives me a nice little combination.
Love it. Where's a good place to learn about these events?
So my website is a good place to go. My summit was on there, and my networking event will be on there. Currently, it's on LinkedIn, so that's another place you can keep track of when the events are, because I have
You can just find you
LinkedIn
as,
events.
is it Coach Bill Marshall on LinkedIn? No, here's Coach
If you go,
billmarshall.com if for all those that are listening. Go ahead.
yeah, and if you go to the LinkedIn social thing in the right hand corner, that'll
Ah, there
come
you
up
go.
with your
So
profile.
easy path is go to Coach Bill Marshall. It's MARSHALL.com, and you can see all the different social media links there, including LinkedIn. Perfect. Yeah, I appreciate it. And there's a video here. Looks like a couple-minute video that shares more about Bill. If you guys are liking what Bill's sharing, this is a great resource to lean in and go hear more about Bill. Man, I've enjoyed the conversation. There's usually one last question that I ask everybody, and it's essentially a why question. So I'm going to give you a second to think about why you do what you do. But here's where I'm coming from with the question. For any entrepreneur, artist, musician, athlete that is putting their work out there, they're putting themselves out there. They're being judged and graded by performance very heavily, by sometimes objectively, a lot of times subjectively, by others. It's a very vulnerable place to be. And the type of person, high performer, that not only does it once, but does it twice and continues to put themselves out there through all that scrutiny over and over again interests me. I
Mhm.
oftentimes will wonder why I continue to do the same thing. And so I oftentimes get clarity by asking others that do that, why do they do that? So, Bill, why do you put yourself out there to serve others?
So I do it for two different reasons. One, the big why that I do anything for, is to support my wife and my family, and
It's a good reason.
hopefully give us the life that we all want. I get to spend time with my kids, and we homeschool them, so I get to teach them. By having my own business and doing my own thing, I'm able to be free for all of that. And then I share all this stuff through video, and and try to give as much as I can out through that, because um, one, it works for lead generation, but the bigger piece is that I like giving out pieces and of content, but also making sure that they're actually actionable. Because a lot of people, when they release videos or any kind of thing out there, especially when it's targeted for lead gen, which this is, um, it's always a matter of like, these three things will help you get better in business. And then it's like, find money, find a job, or, there's never really anything actionable about it. So I like putting out there different things that are going to actually be tangible things they can use. And that if they do nothing else but listen to that video, they can make some sort of difference in their company. And that helps me feel positive about what I'm putting out, because I don't feel like it's trash, and also helps me, look like someone who's going to help people, which is what I want to do. So I want people to know what they're getting. I don't know if that really answers what you're asking, but that's what I think about it.
Yeah, what I hear you saying is, why do you do what you do? It's like, well, to provide for the family, and you've chosen this particular business model that allows you to create kind of the daily and weekly patterns that you guys really see yourself doing, i.e., home being able to homeschool. Uh, I happen to have three kids, and we also homeschool. And to create,
Cool.
create that type of setting, there's certain things required. So it's a model that works for you. That's a good reason, probably amongst some others. Yeah, Bill, I really appreciate you spending some time speaking of, spreading helpful content and insights. Thank you for opening up and sharing some of your insights with us today. Any last things you'd like to share?
No, I have a networking event on November 16th, and it's 5:30 to 7 p.m. Eastern time. If you go to my LinkedIn, there's a LinkedIn event there. Or you could just message me on LinkedIn, and I will send you the link. But it's gonna be a great time. So if you're free, stop on by.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Bill. And thank you for listening and watching, spending your attention and time with us. We don't take it lightly, which is why we focus on talking with real entrepreneurs that are getting real results. Today, Bill shared with us that it is possible to have a positive conversation in chat, in direct message, on particularly LinkedIn. Although this can happen on all different social platforms. Yes, I get it can be annoying, or all the different stereotypes that are there, but this is a really quality example of what is possible and what can happen, and how you can also stand out with your product and service in the market. We'll be back with more great content here on the Spotlight. As always, appreciate you guys. We'll see you soon.